But if you can take away these key points and you can use this to, really think about how you show up for others, how you would like others to show up for you. We're all allowed to struggle. We're all allowed to be human and have human moments. And there are so many ways that we can navigate that, both on our own, but especially together. Welcome to the Mighty Emotions Podcast. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm a certified emotions coach, and I teach you how to respond better to your emotions so you can feel better in your life. My mission is to show you how to work with your emotions to become more emotionally resilient. Your emotions are not designed to overpower you. They're designed to empower you. On this podcast, I share what our emotions are, how to understand them and work with them, and the tools you need to reclaim your power and get unstuck from emotional pain so you can find fulfillment in your life again. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome back to another episode, beautiful souls. I hope that you're well wherever you're listening to this. How are you? How's your week been? How have you been enjoying the guest interviews I've been having? Just amazing conversations with beautiful souls. And I hope that I can have more of these amazing conversations. So if you know anyone who you'd love to get to know on a more human, intimate level, send me a message. I'll be happy to reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to be a guest. This is all about us normalizing the fact that we have feelings, we have emotions, and that we go through ups and downs, but that we don't need to suppress any of it, that we don't need to run from any of it, that on the other side of walking through it and facing it is so much beauty, both for ourselves and in our relationships. So I hope that that's coming across. I've really been enjoying the guest interviews, and I look forward to bringing you more. In my personal life right now, I just celebrated a birthday not too long ago and stepping into a new year of life, feeling all the gratitude for that. Really, really excited, but also not entirely clear about where I want to go or what I want to do. And I go through these periods where I don't have that clarity and I'm a little bit like, we're in a bit of a void, but that's what transitions feel like, and I'm familiar with it now. So I trust it and I stay curious and I stay open. And, sooner rather than later, it all becomes clear. And I just feel this excitement about it. So I'm embracing all of it, I've also added some resources in the resource section in the Mighty Emotions community. So the link is below if you want to access those. I did a guided self check-in not too long ago, and I plan to do some videos just for the community about, the different emotions, especially with the book. My book, Outrunning Your Emotions, now being out in the world. I can't believe I'm saying that, but my book is available now. And I want to just do a video series around it to accompany the book, for anyone who's reading it to get some value, for anyone who hasn't yet gotten a copy to understand kind of more about it. So yeah, look out for that. That's coming soon. And if you haven't got the book, obviously the link is below, or you can go to mightyemotions.com and the link will be there as well. Thank you so much to everyone who has supported it so far, who's recommended it, who's shared it with people, who's grabbed their copy. I'm really, really proud of this body of work. It's just the beginning. So yeah, let me know how you're enjoying it and if you're finding it valuable. Because I would love to get that feedback and know how I could maybe update it for another edition or create a different resource entirely around it. So lots coming. I hope that everything I share here is supportive to you. And speaking of being supportive to people, I wanted to talk today about how we can support others who are struggling with their emotions. Because if you're in my world, then you're doing this work for yourself primarily. You're doing this work because maybe you're sick and tired of, suppressing and being pent up with all this anxiety, and you want to be able to just get back to peace and be realigned. And it's possible, right? If there's anything that I know for a fact, is that it's possible, and that we just need to learn how to apply the knowledge. We need the knowledge, but we also need to learn how to apply it, which is what I help you do. And when it comes to helping others who are struggling emotionally, this can leave us feeling really powerless and really helpless, and it can bring up a lot of feelings for us. So, I'm also a certified emotional CPR practitioner, and that is a trauma informed approach to supporting people who are navigating emotional crisis. So, today I just kind of wanted to bring the elements of ECPR into this episode and share with you a couple of things that are important to keep in mind when trying to support others with their emotions. Now, I don't have many one on one clients anymore. I hope that I can open up my books in the future. I definitely will take more one on one clients in the future. But I know from all the kind of trauma informed training I have, psychological safety, positive psychology, etc., that holding space is really an art. It's a skill. It can be learned, and it should be learned, because in our lives, we often struggle emotionally when we didn't have anyone to hold space for us. And we often try to fix people because we don't know how to hold space. And when I talk about holding space, it's about sitting in the discomfort, being able to sit in the discomfort with somebody else who's struggling and not trying to fix them. And for most of my life, I would try to fix because I didn't want to be uncomfortable and I didn't know how to sit with my own emotions. And so that made me want to kind of rush through and make them feel better as quickly as possible, because then I could feel relief again. And that didn't help anyone, if I'm being honest. It didn't help anyone. It didn't help me connect with others, because the energetic current, the unspoken energetic message there was that I don't want to have to deal with your feelings. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Let's just move through this. And that isn't the way we build connection with other people, right? It's absolutely not. So in my work, I find the balance of holding space with someone and letting them feel safe to have their feelings, because there's nothing wrong with their feelings. I mean, frankly, learning what I know today about emotions, and continue to learn about emotions, because it's ongoing and deepening and deepening. But as I continue to learn about it, I get more comfortable with it. I get more familiar with it for myself first. I don't typically have an issue with other people's emotions. And when I do experience emotional discomfort in the presence of someone else who's having intense emotions, I can regulate and I can look at why it's showing up within me and what I'm needing in the scenario. And this is important, and it's not selfish, because when we don't do that and we're making other people responsible for how we feel, or we're making other people needing to change who they are, change their human experience so that we can be okay, like I said, that's not leading to any deeper connection, and it's not supportive. So in ECPR, we talk about me CPR, which is where we first have to address if we have capacity to hold space for someone. If we are currently experiencing a lot of dysregulation, maybe we're in a really unstable place in our life and we're navigating a lot, processing a lot. Maybe we can't handle someone else's emotions right now. Maybe our window of tolerance is really low. And so, what are the ways that we can continue to regulate? And what are the ways that we can communicate to somebody respectfully that we aren't able to support them right now? And that can be really challenging, right? So, the way that there's two key things that I kind of just want to bring to mind on this episode. If you are dealing with, whether it's children, I mean, a lot of this I'm learning from having a toddler and her becoming aware of her emotions and her feelings and expressing it through tantrums when she's tired or when she hasn't gotten sufficient rest or whatever it is. Her expressing that in ways that can sometimes be dysregulating for me, because of all the stories that I have and all the, lack of sleep that I might get or whatever the case may be, right? We're both humans navigating the experience together. So I'm learning that the first thing after you check in with yourself to see what you have capacity for is that you don't assume that you know what the person is feeling, especially because people who aren't familiar with emotions and don't understand emotions and can't communicate their emotions, like they can't identify that. You can't communicate your emotions if you can't identify them, right? So as my toddler is navigating these emotions that are coming up and these feelings that are coming up, she's unable to identify them, right? It's just all of this sensory kind of stimulation. She can't really pinpoint what it is. And the reason I say is you don't know what someone else is feeling is because, first of all, a feeling is an interpretation, which means it's all based on thoughts, it's all based on past experience and what they've picked up in their life. I have no idea what she's learning when she's at daycare or she's at her grandparents or she's with someone else. So I don't know how she's learned to interpret certain things. I don't know how she's observed her peers interacting or her caregivers at daycare interacting with her peers. There's a lot of information that's subconsciously and unconsciously always being absorbed. And so, as for how she's interpreting my behavior or interpreting a situation, I have zero idea. We don't have any visibility into how somebody is feeling. Furthermore, we aren't always sure what emotions are arising for somebody because they're typically several emotions and feelings all coming up at once, depending on what needs are missing. So when it comes to my daughter, I know that if she hasn't slept well, that we're going to get a lot of probably anger and disgust coming up. There might even be some sadness if she feels like, we're not connecting with one another. She's not getting support. She's struggling and she can't communicate it. And I'm not really understanding it. There's frustration there. So it's never a matter of me saying, okay, well, this is what you're feeling, so this is what we'll do about it, right? Which is, again, going back to the fixing. You can't really fix a problem that you haven't identified. And so a big issue that we experience when people are trying to fix how we feel is that they don't actually know how we feel. They know how they're feeling and they're trying to fix that. Or they are assuming that we feel this or we feel that, but that's not really how emotions work, right? So, yes, we all have the same emotions, but we can't always be sure which emotions are arising in someone else because we can only really be familiar with the emotions that are within us. If someone else tells us this is the emotion I'm experiencing, that's a different thing, right? What I tend to do in my sessions is say to my clients, well, it sounds like this is showing up for you. And they're able to then intuitively say, well, yeah, actually, that's what it is. Or no, I don't think it's that. I think it might be this. And it's about helping the other person identify what they're feeling by just saying, here's what I'm reading of the situation. Here's what I'm picking up on. Can you confirm if that is accurate? And that gets them to tune in and actually identify what's happening for them internally, right? So oftentimes, based on the stories they're telling me or based on the behaviors they're engaging in, I'll be able to say, okay, it seems like these emotions are coming up for you. I can't pinpoint exactly what the feelings are, but I can also say, here's the story that I'm hearing. Here's what you're telling me, and here's how I'm interpreting it. And mirroring it back to them is what allows them to say, yeah, no. It gets them to pause. It gets them to go within. It gets them to tune in and connect with themselves. That is going to help with the processing of it, right? So that's a way that we can support people by saying, here's how I'm interpreting what information you're feeding me with. So again, to recap, the first one is checking in to see if you have capacity to even hold space for someone else. The second step is not to assume you know what they're feeling, but to mirror back to them, hey, based on what you're saying to me, it sounds like you're feeling like this. Or here's the way you're explaining this situation. Is that accurate? That's going to support them to kind of go, maybe, I don't know, start to get curious, right? And it's going to diffuse and neutralize the emotional response. And then the last way that we can support people is simply by saying, what do you need? Right? Because maybe they won't be able to say, yeah, I'm feeling that, or no, I don't feel that, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they won't even be able to say what they need. But by asking the question, by posing the question, again, it creates that space. We allow them to kind of reflect. We collaborate with, get them we collaborate with them when it comes to supporting them emotionally. They're involved in the process. It's not me trying to fix you or me trying to make sure that you're better so that I don't have to feel bad or me trying to take your pain away. It's about us collaborating and working together harmoniously to uncover what's showing up for you, to let you know that you're not alone with it, that I'm here with you, right? Not just here for you, but I'm here with you in this scenario. And then unpacking, okay, what action can we take? Because it requires the tangible steps, the tangible actions to address that need, right? And when they can say, you know what, I just need a hug right now, or you know what, I don't know what I need right now. And you can suggest something based on the core needs that we have, right? So, based on whether they are lacking safety in some way, whether they're lacking leisure, play, freedom in some way, whether they're lacking connection in some way, meaning just really being present with somebody, whether they're lacking meaning in some way, whether they need something to give them purpose or some kind of creativity or some kind of inspiration. Maybe you can send them a podcast that's motivational and inspiring. Maybe you can share some uplifting words. Again, if we've already, step one, identified that we can be there with them and engage with them, we're supporting them by saying, okay, let's try to address the needs that aren't being met here. Because we all know, if you listen to this podcast and you're in this community, that our emotions are signals of unmet needs. So if somebody is struggling emotionally, there are needs that are not being met. And so how can we help them take care of themselves? How can we support them? How can we care for them? Right? And just to wrap it all up, if you've, after, checking in with yourself, realize that you don't have capacity to help somebody, it's totally okay to say, hey, I'm struggling as well right now. And so if what you're looking for is support in some kind of way, I'm really having a hard time. Can we do something else right now? Can we do something that's nourishing for both of us? Can we take a few deep breaths together? I want to hear what you're going through, but can we practice regulating together first and get into a state of co-regulation with one another, right? And see if they're willing to say, yeah, you know what, let's take a beat, let's tune in, let's breathe, let's hum, let's just kind of pause together and co-regulate. And then you might find that you have a little bit more space. Sometimes when my daughter's really struggling, I have to step away. I have to breathe on my own. But sometimes I have to kneel down beside her and say, okay, let's breathe. Okay, mama's going to breathe right now. Okay. Right. Or I need to, engage some humor. Right. And let's say, okay, I don't have the space for us to unpack this and deal with this right now. Can we go and look out the birds outside? Can we go and get some fresh air together? Can we, take a sip of water together? Usually she doesn't want any, but, can we go do something else together right now? And just step away from these emotions for a minute. And when I'm calm and I'm regulated because I'm taking care of myself, then I can do the work to say, okay, maybe she needed this or maybe she needed that or whatever the case may be. Right? So I hope that this episode was really helpful for you. Again, it's something that we practice. It's not something that just listening to this episode is going to, answer all the problems, solve all the issues. But if you can take away these key points and you can use this to, really think about how you show up for others, how you would like others to show up for you. Does anything that I shared today sound like it would be helpful for you if you were struggling emotionally? I know personally that it's helpful for me. I know that it's helpful for my clients. I know that in the past, I've been really grateful when my friends have said, you know what, I really love you. I really want to be there for you right now, but today's a really hard day. Can we just breathe? Can we talk about things that we're grateful for? I have found that to be really helpful at times. And then I've said, okay, I still need to talk to someone. I still need, to process this. Let me call somebody else. Let me try somebody else. Let me pray. Let me journal. Let me go for a walk in the forest, right? Or just go for a walk somewhere where there's green space. Maybe it's near a body of water, whatever that may be, and find other sources that I can co-regulate with. Nature is an amazing source to co-regulate with. It's the foundation of mighty emotions, to get out in nature and connect. So that all being said, I hope that this was helpful for you and it can be useful the next time you have to support somebody, or it can be useful for you to communicate to somebody who's trying to support you and who maybe doesn't know this and is trying to fix, right? We're all allowed to struggle. We're all allowed to be human and have human moments. And there are so many ways that we can navigate that, both on our own, but especially together. Don't forget community care. I know self-care is very popular and it's very important, but don't forget the importance of us connecting and supporting one another. It's one of our core needs. And I hope that this podcast is supportive to you, however you may be feeling today, whatever may be showing up for you. Continue to give yourself grace, continue to be gentle with yourself, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean so much if you could subscribe, leave a review, share with your friends and family, and let me know what you think by going to my Instagram at mighty_emotions and connecting with me and letting me know what you loved about today's episode. It really means a lot that you support this podcast, and I love coming to you each week with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, let me know what you think, and take care of yourself.